Good morning, everyone. Here's your Mormon News Update for July 2nd, 2025. A civil lawsuit accusing BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff of SA in November of 2023 was dismissed with prejudice after a joint motion by both legal teams, meaning it cannot be refiled. No reason for the dismissal was given. The accuser, identified as Jane Doe AG, alleged forced SA at Retzlaff's Provo home, while Retzlaff maintained the contact was consensual and denied assault. Reports indicate Retzlaff is expected to transfer from BYU, likely facing a multi-game suspension for violating the school's honor code. To me, this is all screaming outside settlement and NDA. I really hope the victim can process and heal what happened to her. As for Jake, a multi-game suspension? I am quite confident that if I had had sex outside marriage while a student at Ricks College or BYU Idaho, both Mormon church-run schools that I attended, I would have been kicked out. But a BYU athlete gets to possibly settle outside court and just transfer to another school. Now we're going to go to people.com for some information about Amanda Smith. Her journey began with a profound moment of self-discovery at age 19 when she embraced her identity as gay, stepping away from her conservative Mormon upbringing. During this period between 2006 and 2008, she lived openly, dated women, and met Jessica Gelting, forming an intense, unparalleled connection. Despite this deep bond, fear for her family, community, and stability led Smith to suppress her truth, preventing her from fully committing to Gelting. She subsequently moved from Minnesota to Utah, convincing herself that her gay identity had been a temporary phase and ceased sharing this part of her life. This is not surprising. In Mormon doctrine, it says, in order to obtain the highest degree in the celestial kingdom, a man and a woman must enter into the new and everlasting covenant of marriage. Following her move back to Minnesota in 2009, Smith met and married Dan, a kind, stable, and humorous man through a family friend. They built a life together in Southern California and had 3 children. Early in their marriage, however, Smith realized her identity was not a phase, experiencing moments where she felt she was living a lie. Despite receiving advice from church leaders to pray the gay away, which she desperately tried to believe, she eventually confided in Dan. They decided to remain married as a mixed orientation couple, prioritizing their peaceful family life and strong partnership, though Smith privately felt a crucial part of herself was missing. This also not surprising. In a 1981 church manual for leaders on how to deal with homosexuality, it says, social goals. The individual can more easily eliminate all overt homosexual behavior, friends, and places by replacing them with more appropriate friends and activities. Without violating the person's confidence, you could assign a mature member of the ward or stake to tutor him in social skills improvement. A. Encourage the member to be in appropriate situations with members of the opposite sex, even if he has to force himself. If he is single, he might attend activities for singles with increasing frequency, and in other ways surround himself with good LDS people. B. Encourage him, if single, to begin dating and gradually increase its frequency. He might discuss dating practices, expectations, and fears with a member of the opposite sex or with those assisting him. Although this guide didn't explicitly state that same-sex attracted individuals should marry someone of the opposite sex as a solution to their attraction, it strongly implied this as the desired outcome. This doctrinal and cultural pressure, combined with direct counsel, has led many gay, lesbian, and bisexual members to enter mixed orientation marriages, often without disclosing their sexual orientation or attractions to their spouses. For Amanda, a major turning point came in July 2019 when her daughter was diagnosed with cancer, causing her to set aside her personal struggle to focus entirely on her family's well-being. It wasn't until her daughter's health improved and life stabilized that Smith allowed herself to revisit her own truth. Recognizing that her marriage, while loving, was not fair to either herself or Dan, she embarked on a journey of self-discovery, including yoga and therapy. This led her to a pivotal moment in October of 2023 during a solo trip to Bali, where a powerful question from Glennon Doyle's book, Would I Want This Kind of Marriage for My Daughter?, solidified her resolve to live authentically. This not only happens in mixed orientation Mormon marriages, but heterosexual Mormon marriages. Mormons tend to date for short periods of time and hurry into marriage at a young age. Sometimes they don't even know their spouse other than they are a faithful member, which they think is the only thing necessary for a healthy marriage. Months or even years down the road, they can realize that their marriage is not what they want, or maybe it's even abusive. By this time, there are likely multiple children involved, which complicates things greatly. It can also be scary for a stay-at-home parent who is then trying to figure out how they will support themselves and children if they haven't had a job outside the home since high school. In 2022, at 35, Amanda Smith publicly came out for the second time. After trying couples therapy to preserve her marriage, she and Dan ultimately filed for divorce in 2024. Smith realized she preferred being alone in truth than partnered in pretense. Coincidentally, around the same time, Gelting was also going through a divorce. Though they had lost touch after Smith initially recloseted herself, they reconnected in July 2024 when Smith was in Minnesota. Their renewed connection was raw and honest, allowing them to unpack years of unspoken feelings and confirming that their bond had never truly faded. Now Smith, 38, and Gelting, 37, are navigating a long-distance relationship, making efforts to see each other frequently and integrate their lives and children. Smith describes her relationship with Gelting as one where she feels deeply seen and loved unconditionally, a stark contrast to her previous experiences. This journey has taught Smith invaluable lessons about inner peace, trusting her authentic voice, and the importance of choosing oneself. She and Dan maintain an amicable co-parenting relationship, demonstrating love and unity for their children, ensuring their kids feel fully loved despite the changed family dynamic. This story is both beautiful and heartbreaking. I try not to dwell on thoughts of how Mormonism took so much from me, but when it comes to exploration of relationships and sexuality, I do feel grief sometimes and have to process through it. I spent my teen years in fear of my body and sexuality. I was constantly trying to be righteous and then feeling shame for even thoughts that I had that I wasn't sure were pure. I went off to college without understanding my worth or knowing what boundaries were, and I was essayed multiple times. I then, at 20 years old, met and married my current partner in just over 4 months' time. And while we are deeply connected and in love now, the bulk of our marriage followed the abuse cycle. And if I'd felt like I had any resources or a place to go, or that divorce was even an option, I would have left him pretty early on. At the same time, it makes me happy to see that Amanda and Jessica have reconnected. I wish the very best for them. Now let's go to abc4.com, where it says, in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, a local dance instructor was arrested Sunday afternoon after a years-long investigation into allegations of SA at a dance studio in Cottonwood Heights. Mark Edgar Alexander Cameron, 46, was booked in the Salt Lake County Jail on 3 first-degree felony charges. In February of 2025, the Cottonwood Heights Police Department was notified of an incident that allegedly occurred over 5 years ago. Police said the victim reported multiple incidents that claim Cameron inappropriately touched a young female student. Following multiple alleged assaults, the victim quit going to dance classes. After quitting, the victim told police that Cameron called her mother, then visited her house. She told police that Cameron proceeded to touch her inappropriately once again, this time in her home. The victim told officers that he touched her when her mother was not present in the room. Cameron is connected to a business called the Dance Project, SLC, located in Cottonwood Heights. In a 2019 post from Aspire Dance's website, Mark Big Chocolate Cameron is named as a mentor, advisor, and member of Utah Urban Dance Organization, the Dance Project, SLC, and Urban Dance Fairy Tales. The website also lists Cameron as a course developer and teacher of the BYU hip-hop program. According to court documents, multiple witnesses disclosed other inappropriate behaviors exhibited by Cameron during the investigation. Cameron is currently being held without bail in the Salt Lake County Jail. Just a couple of days ago, I talked about Ryder Lyons and how he will likely be serving a special 1-year mission that seems to only be available to elite male Mormon athletes. Many of the comments on that video said things like, missions are voluntary and anyone can leave whenever they want to. This really just is not true. Within the Latter-day Saint community, missionary service has long been presented as a rite of passage and a fundamental expectation for young men, and increasingly increasingly for young women. From a very young age, children are taught about missions, sing songs about serving, and look up to returned missionaries. This creates a deeply ingrained cultural norm where going on a mission is often seen as the natural next step after high school, especially now that men go at 18 and women at 19 instead of 19 and 21 like it used to be. Families frequently discuss mission plans, save money for them, and celebrate missionary departures with great enthusiasm, making it challenging for an individual to choose a different path without feeling they are disappointing their family, community, and God. Church teachings emphasize the importance of sharing the gospel and serving the Lord, often portraying missionary service as a sacred duty or even a commandment. Young Mormons might hear things like this over the pulpit.
A little tangent here real quick. We were recently as a family having a discussion about missionary work. One of my daughters was at school. She was talking with her friends about President Nelson's recent call for young men to serve missions. And the friends there at the lunch table were debating, do young men have to go, or is it a choice? Now, young men, I hope you'll think about this carefully, because there's an important doctrine here. Do you have a choice whether to serve a mission? I'm going to tell you why you don't. Now, that might rub you the wrong way because we're so big into liberty and agency, and we do believe we're a free, democratic kind of people, right? But here's why you don't have the choice anymore. It's because when you were baptized, you signed on to the Lord's plan, which is giving up free agency and accepting moral agency. The difference being that we give up thinking that we know for ourselves what is best in our lives, and we trust the Lord to give us the direction that is best for us in our lives. And so, young men, if that sounds like foreign doctrine to you, I hope you'll reconsider the importance of that baptismal and sacramental covenant, where every week we come to church and we say, I'm giving up what I think is best, and I trust the Lord to guide and direct me in my life, and His will becomes paramount. And no longer is what we want the most important thing in our lives. We recognize that what the Lord can give us is much greater than anything we could choose for ourselves.
So, are missions voluntary? Sort of. But if you don't go, you could be ostracized from your entire community and looked at as unfaithful, sinful, or selfish. Also, elders go out for 2 years and sisters go out for 18 months. That is the expectation. The church does offer what they call service missions now, but I do not think that is the type of mission that Ryder Lyons plans on serving. If a missionary is struggling on their regular proselytizing mission, they may be released to go home early. That decision is ultimately made and or approved by the mission president. Even though missionaries are legally adults, they don't just get up one morning, pack their bags, and hop on a plane home if they feel like it, especially in missions where their passports are held at the mission office in a locked safe that they do not have access to, literally making it impossible for them to leave without their mission president sanctioning it. On a website for the Fort Lauderdale mission, it says, if you are traveling to the mission from a foreign country, keep your passport with you at all times. Do not put it in your suitcase. After arriving in Florida, give your passport, visa, and immigration documents to the mission president or the secretary. These documents will be kept securely in locked files. And similarly, on one for the Spokane, Washington mission, it says, please bring your passport with you. We will keep it in the office for safekeeping until it is needed for potential travel into Canada. Passports are also currently being held in the mission office at the following missions. This information comes from parents whose children are serving now or have very recently served. Mexico, Argentina, England, Brazil, Southern California, Philippines, Africa, Australia, Chile, Tahiti, Uruguay, UK, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Samoa, Panama, Peru, and New Zealand. Mormon missions may be called voluntary, but I don't think that word should be used to describe them. Collectively, cultural immersion from childhood, strong spiritual imperatives, and potential social ramifications can erode a young person's sense of genuine choice. While no one is physically forced to go, the deeply interwoven layers of expectation can make the decision feel almost predetermined. For many, the choice to serve is not just about personal desire, but about navigating intense internal and external pressures to conform to a path widely considered the default and the most righteous option. Furthermore, the fact that missionaries often do not have direct access to their own passports, visas, and other essential travel documents while serving presents another critical layer that limits their immediate autonomy and ability to leave if they wish. And last up today, let's go to this great quote that says, "I don't share my struggles for attention. I share them so someone else doesn't feel alone in theirs. Every time we speak the truth, raw, imperfect, unfiltered, it chips away at shame and silence. It makes space for healing. It gives someone else permission to exhale. And maybe, just maybe, they'll feel safe enough to speak too. There's power in honest stories. There's freedom in being seen. You don't have to hide anymore." And that's your update for today, folks. I absolutely hope you have the day that you deserve.